Okay, Nicholas, calm down. Back to topic. Welcome, everyone. Today I want to discuss with you the love-hate relationship between suits as part of classic menswear and fashion. What seems to be a clash of cultures is in fact very interdependent. But first, dramatic intro. Before we get into the matter, let's talk briefly about the definition of fashion and its actual counterpart, traditional clothing. I'm sticking with the description or definition of Anne Hollander. Fashion does not aim for beauty or aesthetics, but for a certain message in a cultural, social, political, or even intimate context. Beauty might be a side product of this message, but beauty is not the goal of fashion. Traditional clothing, on the other hand, aims for aesthetics, function, and, very important, tribal membership. It often follows strict rules that change very slowly, if at all. But it sometimes incorporates discoveries that were made by fashion. Surely it's very difficult to draw a clear line between fashion and traditional clothing. Regard it more as a spectrum with different aspects or levels of importance assigned to the different aims. Cultural, social, political message, aesthetics, function, tribal membership. And this is enough because a lot of men claim that classic menswear is far away from fashion. Now, one could argue that classic menswear and suits are clearly a kind of traditional clothing, that classic menswear is the opposite of fashion.
Stuff. We know that about menswear as well, right?
Yeah.
It will never be out of fashion because it is not fashion in the first place.
But I think that's actually not true. If you watched my video about the last 100 years of classic menswear, you should have noticed features that are clearly a fashion trend. The extreme shoulder padding of the 1930s, for example. Features that only make sense in the social context. In this case, the context of women gaining more freedom clothing-wise, and men trying to re-establish the distance between the sexes. But let's take a step back and look at the classic menswear community. Nowadays, people that are into classic menswear try to stick firmly to rules that are already outdated, like no bra in town, for example. Now, one could say that there are surely trends in this community, but in 99% of the cases, it's something vintage coming back. A few years ago, Gurkha trousers made a comeback, for example. And maybe fishtail trousers are next. I saw a pair at Suit Supply, to be honest. But even vintage menswear is seen skeptically.
She loves vintage.
Yeah, I like vintage too. Yeah.
She's also known as the Black Pinup. So she's a lot into 40s, 50s kind of outfits. But sometimes for me, it's too vintage. So
Why? Because vintage fashion is fashion too. Hold that thought and we will get back to that in a minute. Fashion is used as a pejorative word in the classic menswear community, but that ignores the reality, in my opinion. And even if you could bar out fashion from classic menswear, this would kill any innovation. What would classic menswear be without fashion innovations? Think of the dinner suit as a derivative of the tailcoat, or turning down high collars. And these are not just innovations or progressions. These are simplifications for a more comfortable and easy use. When someone simplifies something in classic menswear nowadays, the whole community screams in agony. I don't like most simplifications myself, to be honest, but the radical refusal of anything simplifying is just rubbish.
Shut up!
Okay, Nicholas, calm down. Back to topic. Back to the vintage fashion thought actually. Now, as I said, even vintage fashion is fashion. Dressing up in 1930s attire is, most of all, a statement. In most cases, it's not a political statement. Thank God. Hashtag vintage fashion, not vintage values. But it's a social statement. It's an overdue statement against fast fashion and artificial fibers, a statement for sustainability and tradition. Beauty might be a side project, but it's not the goal. Phew, I hope you all now have got something to think about. Put your thoughts in the comment section, I'm really interested. Share this video with your classic menswear friends so we can have a lively discussion down there. Thumbs up, subscribe, blah blah blah. See you soon.